Bon, voilà le vocabulaire complémentaire pour la deuxième partie du chapitre 7. Nous sommes en train maintenant de parler non seulement des professions, mais des qualités des professionnels, les différentes qualités. Cette partie commence avec un test de personnalité, et puis en vocabulaire complémentaire, on a des mots qu'on utilise comme adjectifs et qu'on utilise pour parler des gens, comme nom. Donc par exemple, tu dis, c'est un travailleur acharné, mais on peut dire aussi, il est un acharné. Il est acharné ou c'est un acharné. He is a cutthroat or he is a cutthroat worker. Un antisocial, un antisocial. Un autonome ou un travailleur autonome. Un coincé. This is what you say for people who are uptight. It's not quite the sense of being stuck up, but it means that you have not really been exposed to the world and you become very tense and struggle in front of differences, and especially people who are a little less strict about things. This word coincé often is used interchangeably with the adjective bourgeois, which is the word for middle class. Une bourgeoise coincée, if you see such a character as in the film L'Auberge Espagnole, there's a character who everyone calls coincée, and she comes from the upper bourgeoisie. She's very wealthy, very polished, and when you put her into a bar with other people from different nationalities and social classes, at first she's very uptight, but of course, as the movie goes on, she becomes more fun, and she relaxes, and she mingles better with people who are different than her. Déloyal, disloyal. Drôle, we've seen this before, funny. Excentrique. Exigeant, demanding. Extraverti. Farfelu. Farfelu is scatterbrained, random, kind of crazy. Flexible, inflexible. Introverti, as opposed to extraverti. Loyal, as opposed to déloyal. Professionnel, sensible. Now, sensible is a true false friend, as they say. It looks like sensible, which in English is a synonym to reasonable. He's a sensible person. In French, it means that you're not very reasonable. It means you're sensitive. Il est sensible. Like, il est susceptible, sensible. He's easily, or she's easily moved by others, or influenced by others, or emotional. Solitaire, solitary. And têtu, stubborn. Then you have this expression, avoir le goût du travail, to have a good work ethic. Avoir le sens de l'humour, to have a sense of humor. Être précis, to be good with details. And les atouts professionnels is what you say for what skills you bring to the table. And to go further, when you're talking about yourself or qualifying someone else as someone interesting or someone sensitive, he's someone who's very interesting, you would say, il est quelqu'un d'intéressant, ou il y a quelqu'un d'intéressant dans la salle. Or imagine you say, I'm a sensitive person. Je suis quelqu'un de sensible. J'ai rencontré quelqu'un de drôle. I met someone funny. And I'd like to just go on and give you a sense of why the cultural texts are so interesting in this chapter. They do touch on le savoir-vivre. Les Français ont une expression très importante qu'on utilise aussi en anglais, le savoir-vivre. Le sens de cette expression est en effet un peu philosophique. Il ne s'agit pas uniquement de connaître et suivre les règles de vie, mais de vivre bien, c'est-à-dire en équilibre et en profitant de la vie. Par exemple, même si le travail joue un rôle important dans la culture et la société française, les Français réussissent en général à garder le travail et ses obligations en harmonie avec d'autres aspects de leur vie. surtout avec les plaisirs de la vie comme la famille, les amis, les vacances, la cuisine et les passe-temps préférés. Oftentimes when we look at the French from a very Anglo-Saxon perspective, and we tend to say that they're lazy, they don't work that much with their 35-hour work week. But when you really look from within the French culture, from within the French perspective, what you see is a relatively small country that does relatively well in the global world because they know how to work, and their sense of knowing how to work has to be in perfect equilibrium with knowing how to live. I remember once there was a discussion about politics in a roundtable show, and as they were discussing, the month of August was upon them, and the consensus was le président de la République, les ministres de la République did need to be on vacation for a good month or so to truly unwind, relax, and refresh their batteries. The sense of needing this kind of refreshing of one's resources so that when they go back to work, they can handle all of the upcoming issues with a new sense of energy and purpose. They don't feel that people should work themselves to the ground. And this is still the case with their 5 weeks of vacation, which people are taking in a more fragmented and fractured way. But still, there is a sense that one needs vacation, one needs a break, one needs to live well in life. One doesn't live to work, but one works to live. But the work ethic in France is important. You have, in the 1930s, les mouvements du populaire. You have popular movements. Le Front Populaire was a movement in government, the Popular Front, which introduced the need for vacation and the need for weekends for workers, but it also introduced the need for a strong ethic of work and the love of work. And I believe you have it. I'm looking here. I saw it the other day as I was working through the book, but now I'm not finding it. Voilà. La formation et les dépenses. Well, they're talking about the baccalaureate and the different types of training in school in this part of the chapter. In a previous Tegrity, I talked about the importance of understanding that your job title in the American work market may not translate so easily into the French work market. And at the end of this chapter does get to this sense of après le bac, and they're talking about schooling. Remember, schooling is different. The preparation for the workforce is different in France. Schooling is paid for by the government, so one does not spend so much time at school. Once you finish your bac, you're pretty much ready to start your what we would call major or minor courses. You're ready to start in with that last 2 or 3 years of intense study in the profession that you have chosen. And then you go on and you go into the workforce. And the government is very interested in knowing that the money that it pays for in education will pay off by the money that people make and pay into taxes down the road and pay into the Sécu Social, which is much, much more significant in France because the Sécu Social pays for everything. Voilà, so I'm just looking for this one cultural bit that I found interesting and now I can't find as I'm live doing my Tegrity. Please bear with me. Okay, well, I'm not finding it, but there is a bit about the éthique du travail. Perhaps it's at the beginning of the chapter, which I highly recommend. Bon travail.